Hi, Britlet Squad. I'm here in my house, obviously, and I'm wearing my Conan the Barbarian t-shirt because I feel like Conan and Beowulf actually have a lot in common and are kind of cut from the same bolt of cloth. And normally, if we had been physically together for this, I would have been putting you into groups and you would have been kind of putting summaries together and then we would have gone into much more detail. We don't have that luxury this year, but I still want to go over some of the highlights, some of the important parts, some of the things that you might not have gotten just on your own reading in isolation. So we started actually when I was in class with you on that last day, and we looked at the very beginning of Beowulf, and how we talked about how it was similar to the Begats. We started off with Shield Chieftain, who's like their paragon. You know, that was good king. That is a really excellent leader to them, and how that's totally different from the type of leadership we asked for today. And then it kind of goes all the way down from Shield Chieftain to Hrothgar. And Hrothgar is the king of the Danes. And if you are curious at all, his name means famed spear. And it's where we get the name Roger. If you have ever heard of a gar or seen a gar, that type of fish in the rivers and the lakes around here, that's why it gets the name gar, is because it's long and thin like a spear. So that's why it's named that. If you read Lord of the Flies when you were in high school or middle school, the character Roger is the psychopath who carries around a stick that he has sharpened at both ends that he wants to impale people on. So Golding was really kind of conscious of the names that he gave to his characters. So Hrothgar it starts out, you know, as this really like beloved king, and part of the reason he's beloved is that he makes a mead hall for his people. So let's talk about that a little bit. I am not Bob Ross. So do with this what you will. But a mead hall was kind of a long structure, not totally dissimilar to Native American longhouses in the way it was made. And there would often be kind of like some sort of embellishment, you know, in the carvings and on the roof. And sometimes it would kind of curve up like that. And this one is called Heorot. And it's not like Sea Rock City. It doesn't have that on the top, but I'm just doing that for you. The mead hall was the center of community life. If you like grew up in a small town and like your local Hardee's is where all the old men get together for breakfast like every day no matter what, and you can go in and see them in there and it's like the center of town life. Imagine this, but on like a much bigger scale. This is like their Hardee's, but this is where everything happens. This is where they come to visit with their king. This is where he comes to give them gifts, which is really important. It's where they party. You've probably already noticed that party is the default option for the Danes when they don't have anything else to do. It's just like a big red button and they squish it and it says party. They party all the time. They party hard. Like LMFAO. They're party rocking. So, the mead hall is where all that happens, and it's just the total locus of their lives. So his goal was to make the nicest mead hall that anybody had ever seen, and it represents their community and their safety, and we'll talk about that a little more here in a minute. Three really important things to this culture, and we're going to be kind of contrasting it with some things that we cover later, but when you're looking at what it means to be an honorable man or an honorable king, these three things are huge, and they're pretty simple concepts. Bravery, generosity, and vengeance. Pretty much the measure of what a man is, or really even a person is, comes down to these three concepts in the time period that Beowulf is describing. We're about to see the importance of vengeance. Bravery is the prerequisite, and generosity is huge. So if you were a good ruler, you were always having your people over, and whatever treasure you had, it was expected that you would share it with them. There's a musical called Hello, Dolly, and Dolly is a matchmaker who's fallen in love with somebody, and she's trying to get him to marry her instead of all these other women. But she says that her husband, Levi, once said that money is like manure and that it should be spread around as much as possible in order to help other things grow. That is exactly how the Anglo-Saxons felt, and also how the Danes felt in this society. That you should not hoard money, you shouldn't hoard your treasure, you should spread it around and watch other people enjoy it. So generosity was a really big deal, and so they say that Hrothgar was generous, that he, within this mead hall, had the best parties and gave them the best stuff and made them feel really good. And so things are going super well for the Danes until Grendel makes his appearance. And I mentioned a little bit about this already, how Grendel and the Grinch are pretty similar. This was a question on the quiz. It says, why is Grendel doing this? It's kind of interesting. Whenever they make a movie adaptation, they always try to give Grendel some kind of different motivation, and I find his initial motivation more compelling. As somebody who's in my 30s, and when I want to be able to go to bed, I want to be able to go to bed and not have blaring music or screaming children or coyotes or whatever it is. I totally get where he's coming from. So it's the loud music it's hurting his ears. It's annoying him. And night after night after night, just the nonstop party rockin' is vexing him. But also, I think deep down, it's that he is not invited. You know, there's all these great parties that he will never be included in because he is part of Cain's clan. And supposedly he has the mark of the beast. And don't worry, at the end of this lesson, I will kind of step away so that you can screen cap the entire board. So I know that I'm sitting in front of it right now. But so he's in Cain's clan, and meaning that Cain in the Old Testament, when he sort of went out into the wilderness and was marked with the mark of the beast, some people in medieval times thought that the people who issued from Cain were monsters. And because he had that mark, that's where all monsters came from, was that they came from Cain. So that's kind of an interesting myth that gets tied into Christianity. So he swoops in, he's finally had enough, and he snaps really hard. So I'm going to read you